Homeschooling rates are increasing, with the majority of growth among families who consider themselves accidental or even unwilling homeschoolers. They say neurodiversity, as well as issues like bullying, means mainstream education is no longer suitable. Reporter Katherine Gregory has been exploring the issue and joins us now. Katherine, what have homeschooling parents been telling you?
Well, as you mentioned, there's a range of different reasons. I mean, there is still that small sort of proportion of parents that choose to homeschool for philosophical reasons, whether that's a rejection of sort of mainstream institutions, or they're living off the grid, or they have deeply religious reasons. But the vast majority do it because they feel they've reached the end of the road in mainstream education. You know, they feel their child is slipping through the cracks, so to speak, you know, whether that's because of neurodiversity or they're being bullied or maybe they're not being challenged enough. Now, experts suggest that probably 80% of homeschooling families are in this particular bracket, and they say, you know, they call them the sort of unwilling or even accidental homeschoolers. You know, one father I spoke to said, you know, most of his kids, he's got four, three of them are at school. His daughter just really struggled with a noisy classroom with those structures and demands in there, and so he chose to homeschool, and luckily he's a teacher, so it's been relatively straightforward. Another mother I spoke to said, you know, both her children neurodiverse, they struggled in the classroom, and she actually felt bad for the teachers who, you know, really tried to keep up with the demands on them. So she chose to homeschool, and it's been sort of a magical transformation for them. She follows what's called the unschooling approach, where the children learn predominantly through everyday tasks, you know, like shopping, cooking, and sort of, you know, those sort of things, but they're still assessed and to make sure that they're meeting sort of the needs of the learning that they need to do.
Katherine, what is the support like, and also how are authorities managing the gaps in mainstream education?
Well, first of all, you know, there are sort of community groups that help support these homeschooling families. You can find them on Facebook or elsewhere. There's formalised meetups of homeschooling families too, to make sure children get that socialisation. Each state and territory are different in how they approach homeschooling. It's regulated according to the state and territory. Some states and territories seem to do better than others, and there is a bit of red tape in some areas as well. So, if, you know, for example, recently the New South Wales Auditor General found that children in New South Wales were sitting in limbo a lot of the time because they couldn't or wouldn't go to school, and at the same time there were real problems with registering them for homeschool. Now, the New South Wales government has said they're working on rectifying that as soon as possible. There are sort of formalised advocacy groups, one I've been speaking to, Free to Homeschool, which try to help families navigate that red tape and make it more efficient to register. And they also guide them through different ways of teaching, or what they call sort of child-led learning. So, you know, as I mentioned, there's a range of sort of different methods with homeschooling. Some choose the unschooling approach, some choose a more formalised curriculum that they follow. Others are in between, whether that's child-led or Montessori, things like that. Or a lot of families use a combination of all of it. But what's been interesting is I've also noticed there's been this sort of cottage industry growth in homeschooling businesses. So these are organisations that might provide certain curriculums to homeschooling families, or even do online teaching. And so there's a real growth in that space as well. But coming back to this point of, you know, why are these kids feeling like they can't go to mainstream schools? You know, I approached the Federal Education Minister, Jason Clare, about that, and he came back and said that, you know, all the education ministers across the country are working really hard on stamping out bullying. They're investing in that now. And at the same time, he's increasing investment as well to schools to help support neurodiverse children. So hopefully we'll see some changes there.
Reporter Katherine Gregory in Sydney, thank you.